So, hello everybody. It's so wonderful to see you all. I'm really delighted to welcome you to join us today, and I hope you found this day of workshops as useful and as interesting as my colleagues on the board and I have. It's in particular a great honour to chair this closing session of the pre-conference activity, which is bringing together a number of distinguished speakers to address the critical topic of strengthening quality assurance in higher education through regional and global cooperation. INQAAHE is the only global organisation exclusively dedicated to quality assurance of higher education. But there are, of course, many other organisations with a regional or a thematic focus. Only doesn't mean alone. Our network has more than 300 members from all over the world. But even with such strength and presence, we cannot by ourselves bring about the transformation of quality assurance or of higher education. Such a claim would be grandiose, overdramatic, and anybody who knows me knows I'm never overdramatic, and misplaced, and quite frankly, impossible. The true value of INQAAHE lies in our ability to bring an international perspective through collaboration with regional quality assurance networks and international higher education stakeholders. Over the next 90 minutes, we're going to explore the current state of this cooperation, and I very much look forward to hearing from you, the networks, about your achievements and your expectations in terms of cooperation with INQAAHE. To begin with, I thought it might be interesting to ask those of you who are representing a regional network to identify yourselves and your networks. Before I ask you to put your hands up and identify yourselves, I have a small confession. As I get older, I find it increasingly difficult to keep track of acronyms, and I'm sure that's true for many of you who are struggling in a language that isn't your own. So if you could first, when you introduce yourself, tell us your own name, but then the full name of your organisation without the use of acronyms, that will at least make sure that we start on the same page as each other. After that, if you want to lapse into the acronyms of your choice, please do feel free, but forgive me if I tend to look a little bit confused here and there. So now that we've got the sort of ground rules clear, who would like to identify themselves as a representative of a regional network and tell us a little bit about who they are? If you'd put your hands up, Fabrice is going to run around with a microphone.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Iring Wasser. I'm the Managing Director of ASIN in Germany, and I'm at the same time the Secretary General of the European Alliance for Professional Accreditation, which is a network of practically all European higher education networks in different disciplines. So there are, for example, the European dentists, the European arts people, the European engineers, and so forth. And this organization is founded on a common understanding of learning outcomes. And it's my goal when I'm here together with INQAAHE also to identify, there's a similar organization in the United States, which is called ASPA. And what is still missing is the Asian Alliance for Professional Accreditation. And I'm looking to actually establish some contacts here during this meeting.
Thank you so much.
Dear INQAAHE members, dear colleagues, I'm Galina Motova. I'm president of the Asia Pacific Quality Network. APQN is one of the largest regional network. It includes 198 members from 45 countries and territories. There are several types of membership offered by APQN. A quarter of them are quality assurance agencies, and half of them are institutional members. Because APQN offered two types of memberships: institutional members, institutional status, and full members, full status. APQN publishes APQN News twice a year and APQN Anthology after APQN conferences and APQN anthologies, and reports. These publishes are available on the website. This year, we are planning to organize next conference in Hong Kong, and I invite you to join NPQN conference this November. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Other networks.
Oh, behind you, Fabrice.
European.
Oh, thank you so much, and then good afternoon to everybody. My name is Ditsawa Kotsweni. I come from Council on Higher Education Lesotho, and also a member as the executive secretary of the Southern African Quality Assurance Network, whereby the most intention of the network is to promote harmonization of quality assurance in higher education within the SADC region. And allow me not to talk too much because my president is around. I might not represent her well, and thank you.
Yeah. Okay. You want to speak? Okay. I'm Anil Sahasrabudhe, Chairman of Executive Committee of National Assessment and Accreditation Council in India, and we are member of APQN, Asia Pacific Qualification Networks.
All protocols observed. Greetings from Cameroon. My name is Atanga Desmond Funye. I am a professor, medical doctor, psychiatric doctor, president and founder of Kesmont International University. I am very honored. We are a member of this organization, and we have also applied to several quality assurance agencies, including Asia Pacific, which is here. So thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to share this afternoon with you guys. Thank you.
What about Robert over there trying to hide? No? He did have his hand up briefly. Robert,
No Europeans?
do you want to have a little go at INQAAHE?
INQAAHE?
No?
An INQAAHE? Someone INQAAHE?
Anybody? Riasis?
Yes, Riasis. You're not already, no.
But you can.
Both.
Yeah, I'm sorry. How are you? I'm not the president, neither the CEO, but the president of RIASES from Latin American and Caribbean region will attend tomorrow, and she will be represented all our region. It's Ibero-American region. It's RIASES, so we are here just to introduce them.
Thank you, Ariana.
So no one from the
One
Arab
there.
networks, European networks, or?
Caribbean networks. Good afternoon. I am Dan Turamen Kosi. I'm a member of the Caribbean Area Network for Higher Education, for Quality Assurance in Higher Education. The president is supposed to be here, so I just want our presence to be known. So,
Thank you.
Heli.
Hi, hello. I am Heli Mattiisen from Estonia, from Estonian Quality Agency for Education. But as I don't see here presidents or vice presidents of INQAAHE, which is the European network of quality assurance agencies, then I should, as a board member of INQAAHE, I am happy to welcome all INQAAHE members here. I think there are a few of them. Anyway, INQAAHE is here, and we are happy to be here and enjoy the conference. Thank you very much.
So hello, everyone. Also, CENCA is here. So the Central Eastern European Network for Quality Assurance. I'm Simona Lache. I'm board member also of INQAAHE, but also of CENCA. And just to let you know that we are present and eager to identify cooperation. Thank you.
One more.
One more. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Steve Chan, the chairman of the Fiji Higher Education Commission. We don't have a legal platform as such right now, but we're in the process of establishing the Pacific Islands Higher Education Association. Just to let you know, there's 3 reps here from Fiji, and I look around here and I don't see any other Pacific Islands represented, so don't you worry, we'll take the good news back to them. Nak. Thank you.
Wonderful. One more, we've got time for one more just over there.
Thank you so much. I'm Nilton Paiva, Executive Director of a national agency from Timor-Leste. We are here to looking for the possibility to become a INQAAHE member and a PQN member. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for indulging me. It's so lovely to see so many of you here. And now that we've met each other, I'm in a moment going to hand the floor to Susanna Karakhanyan, who led the second global study on trends in quality assurance. The results of this study will be made publicly available during the summer of 2025. This was a really extensive effort, and it was brought to life thanks to Susanna's amazing leadership. I'm sure many of you know her well. She really is a force of nature, and we're so lucky and so grateful to have her working on this project with us. This presentation is an ideal introduction to our discussions, as it's vital to share findings not only at the international level, but also regionally. And the strength of this study lies in its regional chapters, each grounded in specific data and written by regional experts. We aim to stay close to the realities on the ground while offering a really cross-cutting analysis. So, Susanna, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thanks so very much, President. Good afternoon, everybody, and it's an honor to be here and see you all again. It's an annual event for us, and we're always happy to meet and discuss. And I'm specifically happy today to introduce this study that we have been doing for the last 3 years, which has culminated in a commendment for the, from the publisher as an impressive work, and it's all due to you. And I will show in a bit while how each and every one of you was engaged in this and how each and every one of you contributed to the success of this study.
Yeah, just let me
Why don't I see anything? Why is it empty?
I don't know. Okay, and please try this.
Why is it empty? Is it empty? It's empty. Okay. So this is the global trend study, which we have been doing for the last 3 years. I'm going to present to you the history of the study a bit so that you all are in context, and then some key findings that we have from the study. So I'm not sure why the slides are empty. So yeah, so basically the whole outline of the study will be introducing the trends, the methodology, and then the team behind it. Because without the team behind it, this work done purely on voluntary basis, without any funding for doing the work, is in itself a major achievement of the quality assurance community. So we will talk about the team behind it, we will talk about the key findings, challenges, and we will also culminate in the acknowledgements of huge contributions done specifically by INQAAHE to support this study. So this is INQAAHE's flagship project, but it has a long history because it started from early 2000s when UNESCO tried to understand what are the developments in external quality assurance. So the study of UNESCO started just from concentrating on each and every region with each cycle. And they first started with the Arab region, where the survey was developed for external quality assurance to start to understand the developments and where they need investment. And then cyclically, this survey was improved, and then it always concentrated on external quality assurance, but expanded across all the regions until 2014, when INQAAHE already joined the study, and we expanded this to other regions as well. But until 2017, this study only concentrated on external quality assurance, and it was only survey. Starting 2017, INQAAHE took the lead as its flagship project, and we expanded the methodology, including internal quality assurance, like tertiary education institutions. We brought external quality assurance providers. We moved from only survey to looking at the landscape data, looking at the history, expanding with each cycle the whole study. And in 2020, we were happy to publish the first global trend. And this is the second round, and we committed to do it every 5 years, bringing in the trends, the history, preserving. Basically, this is the one-stop place to have the history, the trends from internal and external quality assurance, and not only from one region or part of the globe, but the whole, all of the regions globally. So in this second round, we had, as in the first round, we had the Arab state, Africa, Asia, Pacific, Latin America and Caribbean, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, North America. So we had all of them, again, 7 regions included in this study. But with the second study, the methodology has expanded. Apart from the surveys, we also did the focus groups. We also did the baseline study. So just briefly, the first global study was published. And at that time, it was there was no commitment to make it open source, which is as opposed to the second global study. And the INQAAHE board made a commitment, a generous commitment, to make this an open source so that it's available for broader population. The first global study was published in 2020, and it concentrated on legitimacy and trust, efficiency and relevance. And we looked on, UN Sustainable Development Goals, how quality assurance is linking with this, and the second global study is building on it. So in the second global study, we concentrated on efficiency, the relevance of quality assurance, and the transformative power of quality assurance. We'll talk about the transformations. We'll talk about what is the impact of quality assurance. So this study tried to understand that impact. And we also tried to understand, well, basically starting in 1980s, when quality assurance started to expand, the discourse on definition of quality emerged like in 1980s. And until now, we are still in the discussion, what is the definition of quality? How do you define it? So we're still continuing in this study to explore the definition of quality globally as well, and we have some findings to share with you. Basically, if you look at the teams that were engaged, you would see that in each of the team we had, and Vicki started already presenting the regional networks. In each of the teams we had like regional networks engaged. So this study wouldn't have been possible without those regional networks. And this is not only the teams, because these are the groups which were only the leaders in running the project at regional levels. But there is a whole network of 21 organizations, 21 networks, which were engaged in this and contributed to the study. If you look at the overall scope of contributors, we had 30 regional and international organizations, including UNESCO, in the study. UNESCO joined us. We had around 80 quality assurance and tertiary education experts working with us. And we had around 37 authors who were authoring the global chapters and also the regional chapters. So it's a huge contribution coming from each and every one of you, and all the networks that we know of in quality assurance were engaged in it. I'm happy to introduce the networks here, 21 networks of quality assurance bodies in tertiary education, and 9 networks of tertiary education institutions were actually engaged in collecting the data with us. And we did it through 80 experts in quality assurance and tertiary education, which I talked earlier about. So the value of the second study is not just we concentrated on the, the members we know, the networks we know, but those members and those networks, they outreached each and every country in the region, enabling us to cover the landscape of 196 countries in this study. So the book, you would see that it has two major parts, and it's approved. We got the good news beginning of May that the book is approved for publishing, and we expect it to come, we are it's in the press, we are working on this. The book consists of two parts. As the first global study, the same model is preserved here. The first part cuts across all the regions. This is the analysis of the global landscape in terms of the global megatrends, external quality assurance, internal quality assurance, and also we have brought UNESCO to contribute through the chapter on quality, the role of quality assurance in promoting recognition of qualifications, which the panel will be addressing shortly. The recognition of qualifications, how do we as quality assurance contribute to sustainable development goals? So that was also captured through the invited author. The second part of the book consists of the regions that you see here: Africa, Arab states, Asia Pacific. In the second global study, we united Europe under the major umbrella of Europe, but there are two sub-chapters looking at Western Europe and Eastern Europe to ensure that we are capturing the specifics of each of the cultural specifics of each area. We have Latin American, Caribbean, and we have a chapter on North America. So we're covering, this book covers the whole globe. On the slide, you see the authors that contributed to the first global, first part and the second part, and some of the authors are here. But it's not only the authors just conveyed the message that all of you have helped. All of you, literally each and every one of you was helping us in data collection, identifying, going through the challenges of the data collection, because we couldn't find a source, like accurate sources of information on global, on global tertiary education, global qualifications on the qualifications framework. We couldn't find an accurate source which would have information on quality assurance. So this all was done, made possible through your contribution of your invaluable time. Basically, the methodology for the study evolves around, as I have said, we have done literature review and document analysis, and we definitely looked at the role of quality assurance in the global arena and in promoting the global and regional conventions for recognition of qualification, in promoting SDGs and other UN directives. We also looked at the relevant literature coming from the regions and from different, lead authors in the field. What is prominent also is that we collected the baseline data, which basically this data doesn't exist anywhere. And this was done through the regional groups by reaching out to each and every country or quality assurance body to understand the landscape in each and every country. So we were able to collect data from 196 countries, which were presenting here as a baseline study. The baseline data was just used so that we understood in which landscape are we operating. What is our portion of impact? What are we doing within the bigger picture? And then interesting results have transpired there. So we had surveys, and the surveys were delivered for external quality assurance and internal quality assurance. For some regions, it was really countries was really very difficult to reach out to. Hence, the surveys were translated in 7 languages and were administered in 7 languages, internal and external quality assurance. We have got 989 responses from tertiary education institutions and 241 quality assurance bodies from 99 countries responded to the survey. This was just an understanding on how where this group of quality assurance bodies, how they operate within the global landscape. But we also delved deeper into the case studies, and we also did focus groups. And you would see that we had in total 34 focus groups conducted with tertiary education institutions and quality assurance bodies. We covered 82 countries in the focus across 7 regions, and 277 participants were part of the focus groups. So it gives us, of course, we know that, well, given the landscape of around 100,000 tertiary education institutions out there, covering 1,000 institutions is just a small drop in the whole ocean, but still this gives us an understanding on where we are with our trends at this point. So the key findings, I would start where we promised to contribute to is to look at the developments in, what is our role in the global arena as quality assurance. And for that, we looked at the move from the Millennium Development Goals, which was like only universal access to primary education, and understanding what SDGs want from us. And this has quality education at all levels, including lifelong learning. So if the Millennium Development Goals, they only concentrated on primary education now, and the term was only education, we concentrated the formulation, it's now quality education, which means that there is a lot of expectation put on quality assurance. There is a bigger role for quality assurance here, and we try to understand how do we contribute to this. The quality term is our term, and we need to bear the responsibility for what we do. Basically, if you look through the UN directives, if you look through the global and regional conventions, again, it's all about quality education rather than just education. From that perspective, we also looked at the national qualifications framework. We looked at how recognition of qualification happens. And out of 100, and believe me, again, well, you would think that it's easy, go online and you will see all qualifications frameworks there, but that's not that easy. The websites are not updated. It's difficult to find accurate information. So the groups worked individually with each country, trying to understand at which stage the qualifications frameworks are, and what is the status of signing the regional and global conventions. So basically, we have counted 132 countries with national qualifications frameworks, and 83 of them ratified UN Regional Recognition Convention, and 37 ratified Global Recognition Convention. So a ratification is important, and regardless of ratification, you would see that in many countries outside Europe, of course, this ratification is just stopped at the ratification level. So when you go into the mechanisms of implementation of those conventions and promoting easy recognition, seamless recognition of qualification, or automatic recognition of qualifications as it happens in Europe already, that was some of the challenges that we have seen in other regions. Out of 5 UN regional conventions, only Lisbon Convention turned out to be fully, but to some extent operationalized, and the implementation mechanisms were in place, and Lisbon Convention's success went beyond Europe, also covering other countries outside Europe as well. And yet, if you look at the whole overall landscape, global landscape, the supporting structures to promote recognition of qualifications are not there. They're predominantly not there outside Europe, if you put it this way. So let's look into the findings from the perspective. I will start with the recognition of qualification, then zooming into role of internal quality assurance, and then role of external quality assurance to culminate with the presentation. So when UNESCO was working with us on the chapter, so these are the findings that came from UNESCO, and they found that it's really very important to to highlight that balancing harmonization with respect to diversity remains a critical challenge. So there is a huge diversity there, and harmonizing it and making sure that we are ensuring quality education for all and no one is left behind as per Futures for Education of UNESCO, then this turns to be still a challenge. Digital transformation is something that puts everything, makes us more reactive rather than proactive. Within the era of digital transformation, it seems like we're lagging a bit instead of taking more active steps. And then innovative quality assurance frameworks. This has come up as a must to revise, to enable recognition of qualifications, to ensure flexible learning pathways. We have been talking about flexible learning pathways already for years, and yet when we look at the national qualifications frameworks, when we look at the quality assurance frameworks, and the way they are supporting each other to make these flexible learning pathways work, it's still a challenge there. Qualification recognition is another major issue that was highlighted by UNESCO. While there are some bright examples there of good practices working there, like the Lisbon Recognition Convention operationalization, the other parts of the globe are still, they still need a lot of investment into this, to do a lot of investment into this. And there is a dire need for building trust in recognition of those qualifications. And trust, as UNESCO would see from their perspective, is having a body, a universally acknowledged body that would be actually attesting that trust and ensuring the mobility of students and cross-border opportunities. And recognition mechanisms, as I have said, and most specifically, that was also highlighted, yet quality assurance mechanisms building trust at global level are yet to be established. And this is something that I would invite you all not to look at as a problems, but these are all opportunities out there for us. If these are highlighted, then these are opportunities. This is where we need to tap in. Some insights on internal quality assurance. Well, for internal quality assurance, we invited Kevin Kinzer, who was doing from Penn State University, who was doing the analysis at the across all the regions in the global for the global trends, and there was a highlight that there are efforts made from both internal quality assurance. They are striving to do well, and there are lots of good examples out there for internal quality assurance. Yet, we looked at the definition of quality, and in our session on SDGs, we also referred a lot to the definition of and the importance of definitions in quality assurance, in the importance of basic definitions in enabling the proper accurate measurement. So definition of quality was one of the things that we captured. And when we looked at the data coming from surveys and also from the focus groups, international norms for effective quality assurance, they have been incorporated, and that was a good thing to see. But while definitions of quality and their interpretation vary across the regions, their operationalization and the tools to operationalize those definitions are really very vague. So the institutions would say, for me, there was no convergence around the definition of quality at global level. Majority was for defining quality as excellence. Some were defining quality as fitness of purpose, some for fitness for purpose. So different definitions are out there, and there is hardly any convergence at the international level on understanding of quality, on definition of quality, so that the measurements could be accurately done. When we zoomed deeper into the results, into the focus groups and discussions, those definitions were hardly operationalized at the standard level. So in most of the cases, that was also a challenge. So taking the definition and putting it into the standards, operationalizing them, this is something that needs to further enhanced. And the definitions have a convenient vagueness that allows standards to be flexed in support of institutional narratives of successful educational activities. So if you have a very skilled person with legal background, then any kind of definition could be, justified, and anything could be, supported from the institutional perspective. Internal quality assurance functions among 989 institutions and through the focus groups, there is a notable trend of internal quality assurance functions centralization at institution level, but centralization oftentimes leads to standardization. And when you go to the program level, faculty was not so happy about the standardization because the uniqueness and the specifics at the program level or faculty preferences were not so much in consideration. It also suggests that there is a tension with faculty autonomy so there was some tension also of straitjacketing the faculty performance, faculty autonomy. And it somehow seemed to encourage organizational silos by dissolving expertise among faculty and institutional priorities and replacing them with a narrow integration of QA functions. In terms of the relevance, there is a plus side. Ecosystems know the culture of the institution, are responsive, are flexible with respect to local, specifics. The institutions thought that external quality assurance lacks understanding of their own context when they come and review when the quality assurance reviews the institutions, they felt that quality assurance panels had lacked the context in most of the cases. So there was a mismatch between the internal quality assurance and international standards. One of the interesting findings was also that when we were talking about the relevance of standards, in some of the systems, they would say they would start comparing relevance with the relevance of the national standards with the international best practices rather than linking it with the needs of the country. So this is a different perspective on how some of the cultures are interpreting relevance of the standards as well, which is really, which we need to also consider. So in terms of the, I'm sorry, I don't know why my slides are a bit, there was a different flow, sorry. So if we go to the transformative power of quality assurance, there is a general agreement that quality assurance helps to do transformations at system level, at institutional level. And from Europe, there was more of accent on, also going deeper into the learning outcome. But in many of other systems, they just said that it's more organizationally oriented, and we see the impact at organizational level. In some regions were demonstrated success with student engagement and overall stakeholder engagement. And transformation was felt at, in general, this is more of an institutional rather than at the core that matters, the learning of the students. Now let's go and have a look at what happens globally. Those were the results coming from a very small percentage of institutions, majority of which had internal quality assurance system in place, and they were already accredited by most of them were accredited by external quality assurance bodies. Now let's look at how the trends are going from external quality assurance perspective. Like we have an exponential growth in the number of students, in the number of institutions. We have been able to calculate around 100,000 tertiary education institutions. And why we talk about tertiary education institutions, because we were looking at the UNESCO level 5 to 8 And some of the institutions, they in some systems, they call them higher education. In some systems, they call tertiary education. So we came with an umbrella term of tertiary education. And hence, we have counted around 100,000 of them. We have been able to reach out to the countries, and we have counted around 801 quality assurance bodies. This includes both professional accreditors, national regulators, all of them. In total, this is the number that we have. And we also see the growth from the years before. And out of 801, only 178 were externally evaluated, the quality assurance bodies. It's only 22% that have been externally evaluated, meaning evaluation of evaluators. Now, if we go back to the term quality education, promoting trust, promoting credibility, and we look at the overall landscape of education, we see a very unbalanced coverage in terms of quality assurance. You would see that it's less than 50% of the institutions were covered by external quality assurance procedures, and less so had internal quality assurance procedures in place. Meaning, and the part that is already covered, they have been through so many cycles of accreditation that there is a huge accreditation fatigue in one part of globe, in one segment of quality higher tertiary education institutions, and the other segment is left uncovered. So there is uneven coverage, unbalanced coverage of by quality assurance bodies of tertiary education institutions, which again takes us to the SDGs, it takes us to the regional and global convention, and to the term quality education, rather than just education. So if we want to make sure that we do achieve those goals, we do enable, we do make regional and recognition conventions work, this needs to be rethought. We've seen an opportunity there. We have to tap into this. But most importantly, why this is happening is also the governments play a lot of role. The national governments, most of the governments would have quality assurance on voluntary basis, meaning that if it is not necessary, then they might not even do it, right? So, but the systems where we felt, where we identified with the way the governments made it a requirement, so there was a full coverage. For example, if you look at European region, predominantly the institutions were covered there because they are, there is an umbrella, European higher education area, there is a Bologna process, there are lead structures there taking care of it. But this is not the case in other parts of the globe. So this actually gives us a very, clear picture of where we are and what we should be doing as accreditors to contribute to this situation. And again, when we looked from the external quality assurance perspective, from them we heard about quality definition. Again, still no convergence, a vague link between quality assurance standards and quality definitions. External quality assurance capacity. So this is constructive. They see that it's constructive at institutional level in organizational matters. It's reactive, and the INQAAHE capacity, we're a bit lagging in catching up with the vast diversification of providers. How about the non-formal providers? How about diverse new initiatives that are coming up? For example, schools that are formal schools, but they don't have any faculty in it. So how do you treat those diversity of providers out there? What are the new solutions out there? Micro-credentials, we're talking a lot about it. How do we cover it? How do we capture it? Shifting the roles, and this shift has been there already for decades, and it supports the first global study as well. When quality assurance started, the initiative came from tertiary education institutions. They were the owners of the quality, and then the external bodies were established. But now there is a shift in the role and quality assurance is more seen as a compliance tool rather than enhancement mechanism. It's the tool used by lots of governments for different purposes rather than enhancement in education. So is it control? Is it enhancement? Still there is an issue there. But it does bring, the institutions do complain of being straitjacketed by those standards. We have expansion of cross-border quality assurance, and there are some reasons for that. Some governments don't trust their own national accreditors, and they're inviting international accreditors to support them with the recognition of, with accreditation of institutions. Some of the, in some countries, we found that due to the lack of professional associations, accreditors who would come at the program level to do accreditation with professional standards, then the international accreditors would be invited to cover that gap. And also there is a commercialization trend of quality assurance bodies as well, as the findings demonstrate. Yes, quality assurance is becoming more and more a political tool, and this is used by governments. This is not something that it was intended for at the beginning, but there is a shift and it is there. We have to see how we deal with that. It is becoming increasingly, and it has become a strong political tool, and the governments are using this for different purposes. We have diversification of quality assurance. So the types of quality assurance are changing, the emissions are expanding. We see in this second global study, we saw huge growth in professional accreditors, huge growth in different regions, which was not there before. Like, for example, in Asia Pacific, you would see a huge growth of professional accreditors, whereas in the first global study, they had each one per national accreditor in the country. The same in Eastern European, some of the Eastern European countries where the professional accreditors actually have increased in number. We have seen huge growth of quality assurance networks also. They are expanding, and we have seen 21 networks engaged in this study, but there are more out there. And this is different from the first global study identified only around 17. Now we have more and more. So the networks are also growing there. But again, with all of this growth, there is a need for a universal, body that would be taking care of the trust and credibility, on managing, on guiding, on supporting the UNESCO Global Recognition Convention and supporting all these directives. So these are just some picks into the study, and this study wouldn't have been possible without, as you have seen, the networks, the 80 professionals, the authors, all of you who have engaged in it. But I would like to especially acknowledge some of the, of course, each regional chapter has its own list of, because there are so many contributors to this study, it's not possible to name each and every one of them, but for each and every one of them, for each and every second, we're really very grateful. And all the names will appear in the book in front of each of the regional chapter, but I would like to have a special acknowledgement here for UNESCO, that they contributed to this study, bringing in the expertise and linking this to the global, this was an opportunity to link quality assurance with the global recognition convention, the global trends, and see our role, how they perceive us in this major, in this global landscape. I would like to send a special thanks to INQAAHE Catalonia for data collection, data analysis. They have done a great job, and this is really, incredible what they have done for us. But most importantly, and undoubtedly, I would like to thank INQAAHE Board and Secretariat under the lead of its current president, Vicki, and immediate past president, Deb. They all merit all acknowledgement for this invaluable support. Every time there was an issue, there was a support there because they saw the value of the study. Special recognition goes to INQAAHE CEO, Fabrice, and the Secretariat, Bia, Maria, and Giancarlo Castro, who actively worked with us in data collection. And in specific, the authors express gratitude for the financial aid in-kind support from INQAAHE. As I have said, this book will become open source due to INQAAHE's financial contribution to make it open for all, for the whole global community of quality assurance and tertiary education. I would like to stop here and thank you all for your attention. And if you have any question, I would be happy to respond. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. If there are any questions, I'm happy to respond. Questions? Yes, sure.
There have been other problems of universal recognition of qualification. This is a big challenge which all top universities face.
Yeah.
We have to work some kind of a formula where all this information is available digitally in one single place, and students or the universities should not run around seeking that information each time.
Yeah.
So one small step which we have undertaken in India, I just want to mention that every student, right from age of 3, when enters nursery to higher education and beyond as lifelong learner, is given a unique ID, and we have named it as APAR. In Indian languages, APAR stands for multiple, many, innumerable. So there are a lot of use cases from out of this, and that's why the name was APAR. The APAR stands for Automated Permanent Academic Account Registry. And every course, each semester, whatever student goes through, it is deposited in terms of the course number, course name, content, and also the credits and the grade secured in the Academic Bank of Credits. Academic Bank of Credits is like a bank account of what we call educational one, not the money bank. And this APAR is an ID. That means it is like an account number. So any institute anywhere in the world or anyone who wants to validate and know the correctness of that, by just asking query, by giving this 12-digit ID, one can get whether that student has indeed done that course, what courses has done, what degree he has secured, will be accessible, available. Now, whether you want to recognize that degree of that university depends on the entire different jurisdictions. But since these are all formulated, these universities come into existence by either an act of parliament or act of a state assembly. So they have that recognition. Even if you are writing now, right now to Association of Indian Universities, they are all part of this same scheme of things, or University Grants Commission. So I think an easy way of recognizing the qualification, authenticity of that degree can be made use of.
I absolutely agree with you. And just to note, there are indeed lots of good examples, individual examples in any system, in any culture. We have seen good practices out there through case studies, and they are highlighted in the regional. What I presented was the global view. If you look at 196 countries, within which 30 countries don't even know what quality assurance is, right? So this is what this was just a global overview of where we are in the landscape and what is our role, and to see the opportunities in which we could all tap. But definitely there are lots of lessons to be learned from different parts of the globe. And this is INQAAHE's role, to bring all of you together, learn from each other, and share the experiences so that you could build a better and more capacity to contribute to this trend, to the conventions. More questions? If no.
Hello, this is Shima from Indus University, Pakistan.
Yeah.
My question is, INQAAHE is planning to add AI in their systems, or what they are planning? There will be automatic benchmarking for all the, we see so many quality assurance agencies are here around the world, and they have different benchmarks. Where to go as an institute, which benchmark I should follow to be one unique world. So are we, INQAAHE, planning to do something benchmarking or through AI or not?
So INQAAHE has recently launched the International Standards and Guidelines, which give us a mechanism to benchmark quality, but not specifically around AI. It's for individual quality assurance bodies to talk to us about how they use AI. But we will be promoting heavily the International Standards and Guidelines, beg your pardon, to provide that international benchmark. Susanna talked about the critical importance of having trustworthy systems, and having trustworthy systems internationally relies on us understanding how we quality assure our education so that we can provide that qualification recognition that our Indian colleagues have talked about so eloquently, and the trust and credibility for our graduates to move around the globe. The international standards and guidelines remain quite young, and at the moment we're doing some internal quality assurance of our own, having piloted them, but you will be seeing us talking about those more and more extensively over the coming years.
Vicki and Susanna, maybe I can be heard?
Mm-hmm.
Since all the important people are here, I continue to see the establishment of the global register of agencies under the umbrella of INQAAHE and UNESCO as the one key game changer. And I simply, now that we're all here, would like to get an update. Where are we really, and when realistically is there going to be a global system, a global register, and what are the hopes connected to that?
Thank you, Iring. I will start to answer that question, and we will probably come back to it at the General Assembly at the end of the week. Where we're up to with that is that we all agree with you that that is really a critical step in establishing that trust and in providing some information globally about quality systems and which quality assurance providers can be relied upon to operate according to the benchmarks that we've established in the international standards and guidelines. But there is far more benefit in doing it properly and well with integrity and standards than in rushing into it before the ISGs are ready to be launched to provide that registrarial function. So we are, as I said, we're undergoing some internal quality processes to make sure that the ISGs are ready for that. The drop-dead deadline that we've talked about as a board is by the end of our strategic plan, which is 2027, to have the register and the Global Council established. We very much hope that we will be able to do it in advance of that, some way in advance of that, but that would be our drop-dead deadline.
Thank you so much, Sianda Makaula from South Africa. Because the studies started before COVID, and I'm just interested to know what would have been the impact of COVID-19 on the outcomes, particularly on the innovative quality assurance frameworks and the digital transformation. Thanks.
Hello. Yeah, thanks for the good question. The study started in 2022 after COVID, and there were already solutions in place. And in the regional chapters, you would see clearly, and in the global chapter, the solutions that different parts of the globe came up with in terms of quality assurance. Of course, there was a major revision of procedures taking it to the virtual, but again, interestingly enough, when we were exploring one of the sections of the study looked at the impact of external factors on the performance of tertiary education and quality assurance. Interestingly, the only factors that they were mentioning highest scoring factors were economic and digital transformation. COVID was not that much of scoring. It was there. We all acknowledge there were solutions people came up with, but it seems like they all moved on, and they are economic and digital transformation that they are being mostly challenged with.
Thank you. I would like, sorry. Oh,
I still have the microphone. Sorry, very quickly. I just wanted to say that we are all very different, and the networks seem to be different. But actually, if we look at the regional frameworks of quality assurance, then there are not that big differences at all. So INQAAHE has made some surveys, some studies comparing different quality assurance framework in different regions, and the alignment is actually quite high. So there is a good basis for trust and good basis for mutual recognition as well. So let's be a bit positive also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Heli. It's always wonderful to have a positive voice in these discussions. So I want to draw in some of the INQAAHE board members who've been generous enough to give us their time on the panel today. I'm going to ask them very quickly to think about how in their regions dialogue has been fostered between the fields of quality assurance and the recognition of qualifications and credentials. It's not everybody's direct speciality, I acknowledge that, but we've heard about the critical nature of trust in qualification recognition. And that is one of UNESCO's priorities in higher education, as Susanna has told us, promoted through the Global Convention, which has now been signed by 38 countries and supported by various regional conventions. So I'd be very grateful to my colleagues for your perspectives on how quality assurance in your region has been or is expected to be a driver for facilitating recognition and, by extension, talent mobility. We're joined by Anna Prades from INQAAHE Catalunya, Sylvia Demas, and Mary Kath Lennon. And Anna, may I start with you, please? Do you have thoughts to give us on this matter?
So, yeah, does it work? Yes. Okay, thanks. So I was thinking about the challenges and opportunities for recognition, and yeah, I did agree from micro level, meso level, and macro level. Okay. Yeah. So I began thinking about what are the challenges and opportunities for higher education institutions, and in Western Europe and Eastern Europe, those of us who are in the European higher education area, there are great opportunities because we do have national qualification frameworks, we do have, which is a common structure, this is nice, and we have the European qualification framework. We do have a common language, the European credit transfer system, which is nice for the recognition, okay, it's a common language. So common structure, common language, and then we do have the European standards and guidelines, which is a common standards of quality assurance, which means trust. So common language, common structure, and trust. Nice again for recognition. And we do have the INQAAHE system, which is on kind of organization bodies that we have in each country, which helps to do this recognition, which is also nice. So higher education institutions have tools and have systems that facilitate that is this recognition. Nonetheless, when we are talking about prior learning recognition, this does not happen so much. So there is that, the opportunity is there, but there is inertia and there is resistance to recognize, for instance, vocational education training at level 5 or at level 6 at bachelor level, and there is resistance. I heard a podcast recently about Brian Rosenberg book. I think it's an American, and it's called Whatever It Is, I'm Against It. And it's like the attitude of academics staff against almost everything, right? So sometimes they are really reluctant to change, and historically there has been very little practice of recognizing anything taught or experienced elsewhere outside their own faculty, okay? So this is somewhere where us, quality assurance agencies, could do something to promote this recognition. If we were to assess, are you doing prior learning recognition, and how are you doing this prior learning recognition, maybe they would have an incentive to do something about this. So we could have a role there. Regarding at meso level, which is us, quality assurance, external quality assurance bodies, in Europe we do have INQAAHE, the European Network of Quality Assurance, which is a huge enabler because we have meetings twice per year, we meet each other, we know each other, and we trust each other because we've been working more than 20 years and we've been sharing what we do. And we have these common standards, and all of us has been externally evaluated by the common standards, which means that implicitly we share the same standards, which absolutely eases this trust. But we do have challenges because most of us are national quality assurance agencies, and we have something that is called national legislation. And here, Europe is, in fact, there are nation states there, and European higher education area is composed by nation states, and of course, there is divergence. So we do have this harmonization, we have this common language and common structure, but there is a huge diversity. And of course, there are different national legislations, which are a clear challenge in order to recognize lots of things, okay? Well, then we have other levels, which is the European level, the European Commission level, and then we have the European higher education area. At European level, it has happened something in 2017. It was launched the European Alliance Initiative, which has been really a driver for change. It has been paramount in changing national legislations, because then you have lots of funds, so you have incentives. And then national states, they need they have the push for the higher education institutions that are involved in these alliances. They tell them, hey, I need you to recognize these degrees that we are doing in this alliance, and the push is very great. So there has been lots of changes in legislations in order to allow, for instance, something called, for instance, the European approach. The European approach is a common methodology that can be done by any European Quality Assurance agency that is registered in the European Quality Assurance Register. Sorry for the acronyms, because we have our own structure. But this European approach was approved in 2015, but I think that until 2020 there were only like 11 assessments doing by this approach, and now there are 72. Why this change? Because the European Alliance Initiative, University Alliance Initiative, okay? So this is something that can be done. And I also think that a key opportunity, a facilitator is a word in English, no? Okay, I use it anyway. Something that really helps, in any case, is this commitment. It's an European higher education area commitment, which states something like, okay, I'm gonna trust any system where these higher education institutions are assessed, are externally externally assessed by an externally quality assurance body, okay? And this external quality assurance body has also to be externally assessed. So this is the key for trust in order to, in my view, to have this recognition, because it's the key for trust. And I'm going to finish here.
Thank you, Anna. Really interesting. Interesting to hear that there is still resistance to recognition of qualifications at both the input and the output level for institutions, even where you've got that political commitment to a similar system and to mobility. Sylvia, I suspect you're going to tell us a very different story for the African picture. Please give us your thoughts on this question.
Okay. Thank you very much. The issue of trust and mutual recognition has also been at the heart of the African continent. For many years, African countries have been pursuing economic and political integration for a range of strategic reasons, and higher education in particular is one of the key areas that sits at the heart of these frameworks. Multiple continental initiatives have been launched to help advance the issue of trust and recognition, and to also help foster the education integration in Africa. In particular, in all sub-regional economic communities, be it the West African, East African, Central, South, and also for different language groups, there have been educational protocols that have been adopted. Among these, the most advanced one is the one in Eastern African community, where there is a common higher education area. As we all know, quality assurance in higher education is influenced by factors such as the massification, competition, privatization, and the emergence of various educational offering models. In response to these factors, the landscape of quality assurance in Africa has also undergone some significant transformation, particularly through the formulation of or the adoption of the national qualification frameworks. To this end, the qualification frameworks have been adopted at regional and national levels, and they serve multiple purposes, such as standardizing educational outcomes, facilitating lifelong learning pathways, enabling cross-border qualification comparisons, and also supporting recognition of prior learning experiences. In recent years, the African Union, that is now the continental bloc, has adopted what is called the Pan-African Quality Assurance and Accreditation Framework. It is in short called PAQAF. This framework consists of 6 tools. Some of them have already been developed and adopted, and some of them are either at approval stage or at a project stage. In particular, this framework also includes the African Standards and Guidelines for Quality Assurance. It also includes African Quality Assurance Framework, the Credit Transfer System, as well as the Continental Registers for Quality Assurance Agencies and institutions and accredited institutions. So these are the instruments under the African Quality Assurance, the PAQAF, which really in essence are there to foster harmonization and mutual recognition in the region. So having painted this picture, it doesn't mean that there are no challenges in the region. And some of the challenges, I think, is what Susanna has touched on. What I'm also reflecting on are the challenges that we have seen that emerge from the global study. One of the key issues affecting the quality assurance system in African countries is the fragmentation in the quality assurance bodies. There are multiple, in some cases, in some countries, there are multiple external quality assurance providers with overlapping responsibilities, and this really causes confusion in the processes and procedures of quality assurance. There are issues of financial instability and governance in some quality assurance systems, which undermine operational capacity. Critical gaps have also been observed or identified in mechanisms for evaluating teaching and learning, research, and community engagement. And these are really resulting from lack of mechanisms to do so. And finally, is a limited and weak capacity of quality culture within institutions, resulting in low engagement of students and employers, and therefore affecting the curricula that arise from their efforts. However, with these challenges and whatever is the initiatives that I mentioned earlier that are happening in the region, we do think that there are opportunities, and the opportunities lies in the fact that the continent itself, the African Union and the individual countries, there is a high commitment to adapt to the global conventions through the adoption of their own qualification frameworks. The Pan-African Quality Assurance and Accreditation Framework that I've also mentioned, we believe it will go a long way in standardizing internal and external quality assurance and promoting trust in higher education across Africa. The increasing adoption of national qualification frameworks also advance the cause of mutual recognition and trust between the countries. And finally, we do have an initiative in the region that is supported by the African Union and the European Union, and that is the initiative of harmonization of quality assurance and accreditation of African higher education initiative. And this initiative really contributes to the realization of the Pan-African Quality Assurance Framework. So it is there to assist rolling out the African Quality Assurance standards, as well as developing capacity in different countries and with different institutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really interesting. So again, we've got the critical nature of having frameworks and collaboration cross-nationally. But you mentioned the words that I've pulled out as being particularly interesting, the sort of difficulties of fragmentation that come through massification and the sort of resultant problems, I guess, in engaging students and employers and getting that kind of global buy-in that's necessary for the real establishment of trust in the system. Thank you. Mary Kath, I'm going to turn to you. I don't know whether you're going to speak for Canada or for the whole of the North Americas, but let us know how it looks in your part of the world.
Okay, thank you. Well, far be it from me to speak for the whole of the region, but I can say that I did have the opportunity to take part in the chapter for the global study, and thanks very much to Susanna for the leadership. Well, it was a collaborative effort, and we worked really closely together because the North American region includes Canada, the US, and Mexico, and they are very unique systems and very distinct in the way that they operationalize their quality assurance and the way that the higher education systems are organized and politicized. And so it's hard to speak of sort of regional activities per se. So I'll give you sort of an overview, and then I can dive a little deeper into the Canadian system, because far be it from me to speak for either of the other jurisdictions, particularly the US, where there are significant changes going on right now. So I suspect that anyone would be challenged to give an overview of the system at the moment. But on whole, the North American region is loosely coupled. So we have three systems that are similar in many different ways, but they're not actually very tightly linked. So we don't have a regional qualifications framework. In fact, it's only Mexico that has a national qualifications framework. The US does not have one. There are certain initiatives that are going on to develop one, but nothing is in place at this moment. In Canada, we have a degree qualifications framework that is a non-binding qualifications framework across the country, but then provincially, which is where the responsibility for education and higher education rests. Some provinces have qualifications frameworks. So in the province that I'm from, which is Ontario, we do have a qualifications framework that ranges from short-level certificates all the way up to degree level or PhD, doctoral level programming. We're in the process of integrating micro-credentials into that qualifications framework right now. And it is a very useful tool for us in Ontario, and it supports Canadian recognition and Canadian referencing for degree level programming, for all level programming. But outside of the jurisdiction, outside of the country, it's useful for international recognition purposes. When it comes to international recognition of credentials, Canada is the only signatory to the Lisbon Accord across the region. So Mexico has not signed or ratified. The US has signed but not ratified. Canada has been a signatory since about 2017. And so because of that, we have an information center which helps with the recognition and the validation of credentials and Canadian credentials as well. Canada is also in the process right now of signing on to the Global Convention, which is something that we're really excited about and hope that that's going to come through any month now. So one of the things that I'll say is that we do not have a voice for the region. And in fact, we don't really even have a single voice per country. Within each of the countries, there are distinct voices. And so it really is a loose collaboration of of organizations and voices that are volunteering to work together. They're trying to work together despite some of these inherent challenges. So I can say that the opportunities for the region are significant. We have great opportunities to see what the other jurisdictions around the world, the other regions are doing. Certainly, we often look to Europe to understand how they have managed to do such a great job of connecting diverse systems and instilling an umbrella that still allows for distinct systems and quality assurance practices across the region. So I don't want to stand in the way of cocktail hour, so I'll pass it back to you, Vicki.
Nobody wants to stand in the way of cocktail hour, Mary Kath. We do have a few moments. I can reopen it to the floor if there are some questions for the panel. There's a very quick hand in the air there. Have I got somebody with a microphone? Yes, just coming to you.
Button, you see. That's becoming very serious now. Sorry, I give you the floor. I just wanted to say to you that we have colleagues online, other networks. So Nadia Badawi, Tariq Al-Sindi, Rabi from the Arab Network for Quality Assurance, Rafanak, the Francophone Network for Quality Assurance, who wanted to share the thanks to Dr. Susanna and to the Secretariat also. We have the Pakistan Network for Quality Assurance. They're in transit in Doha right now, but the SG, Dr. Azia is there. We have also other INQAAHE colleagues who are there. I know. Just I wanted to mention that they cannot talk actually, but they listen to us. Yes, so thank you very much.
It's wonderful to have them even silenced. Thank you, Fabrice.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sharon Kelsick. I am the Executive Director for the Antigua and Barbuda National Accreditation Board. Antigua is a small island in the West Indies. That's the Indies that Columbus ended up in when he thought he was going to the East Indies. And one of the things that always worries me is that when conversations like this happens on an international level, the Caribbean region is often left out. There's not a loud voice coming from the Caribbean region. And I'm speaking not just from the quality assurance side of it. I also work with teachers' unions and the international bodies for teachers' unions. And even when we go to those we find that the voice of the Caribbean region is generally lumped with Latin America, and we get lost in Latin America. So one of the things I would love to see, because as a young organization, we are considering having our membership in INQAAHE, but we also want to have a voice. And we know we do have that voice through CANCAID, but it's very soft. And we're hoping that there can be greater representation for the Caribbean region, especially because more and more we are seeing persons coming from the Far East, from Africa, into our region. And we have to be able to assess the credentials that are coming from that far. And so if we don't have that partnership, if we don't have these conversations, then it becomes very difficult. and our people as well as yours become disadvantaged. So I just want to say that we would really love to see more representation from the Caribbean region, the West Indies, because we tend to get lumped with Latin America and get lost in all of that.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you very much for making your voice heard and for making such an eloquent and articulate plea for your region. And I think you're making, in a way, a very similar case for the establishment of a trusted recognition of qualifications that INQAAHE was making at the beginning of the session. So it's nice to see that kind of global link and the universality of that requirement. So thank you for bringing that to our attention, Susanna.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I just wanted to give the floor to Ariana, who was leading the Latin American Caribbean, and she talked to each and every country in Caribbean. So the Caribbean is really very well articulated in the chapter, and even more, it's not linked to Latin America, it's just separately Latin America and Caribbean. So the chapter does address in specific, but Ariana, if you could add some.
Yes, thank you for mentioning it. We work with Curtis Flo. He's the president of INQAAHE. And really, it's the first time that we had so much participation from Caribbean quality assurance body. I should say that all of them had taken part of this global study. So you will read it in our chapter. It's really well represented. And it's what not just the quality assurance bodies, but many higher education institutions were really pleased to take part of this study. And we created a chapter that covers not only Caribbean region, but Central America and South America, and all the region together were able to find similarities and, of course, difference. So, yeah. We have done really an excellent one with INQAAHE. I don't know if you want me to tell you something else. Okay, perfect.
Time for one or two more questions before the cocktail hour, as Mary Kath so beautifully put it.
Yes, my name is Edi Naisele. I'm currently the director for the Higher Education Commission in Fiji. Actually, as been alluded to, we are here representing the Pacific, so to speak, but I'm actually want to get the same sentiments with my friend from the Caribbean. We need to get our voices also, and I'm not really sure. We have a regional body that looks after under the Pacific Forum, which actually consists of 14 countries. But we'd love to see a strong voice of the Pacific at INQAAHE at this international level, because we got to hear our stories. From the sessions we had this morning and also this afternoon, our group members actually were there. We tried to voice out the criticalness of what even our friend from the Caribbean has mentioned. We need to, there are certain issues that are a lot of issues that actually underpinning what we do, especially at the higher education sector, how best we can pick on some of good practices from our bigger nations. And also our smaller nations are doing some good practices. And looking forward to INQAAHE and all other key agencies like APQN. We were a member some years back and we are coming back, but membership is critical. If we are not a member for the other countries, please do let us know. We'll also try to rope them in so that we can get our voice from the Pacific, like our colleague from the Caribbean, other smaller sub-regions. We'd love to also to get involved in this whole activity of higher education quality assurance and so on. Thank you.
Vicki, can I say one word? Just to answer to both of you, we are reinforcing our partnerships with the networks through MOUs that we are signing, including some activities and some action plans so that we have tangible results and a real cooperation. And second thing, we are working now to organize a webinar probably in June on small states and quality assurance. That includes University of the West Indies also. So I'm just preparing that with Mark Athlenand. And yes, we had one on juniors. So I will keep you informed. It will be in June on this. Mm-hmm.
Hello, my name's Ian Kimber. I'm here as an independent consultant, although I'm very familiar with both the UK system and the Australian system. And what I want to say is an observation rather than a question. And it's basically that qualifications frameworks aren't necessarily all they've cracked up to be. Like, for instance, in Australia, and the UK has done this as well, linked the definitions of qualifications and also broad standards directly to the qualifications framework. So it's in legislation. And at the same time, or perhaps more recently, trying to navigate pathways through the tertiary education sector, trying to allow for micro credentials, non-award programs, when they're not in the qualifications framework, becomes actually quite problematic. So in some ways, perhaps the US and Canada have been wise not to put in place global qualifications frameworks. A big bit of work was done in Australia 2 or 3 years ago to totally revise it. And that bit of work is still sitting on the shelves in Canberra because no one knows how to implement it, and there's no political will to make the legislative changes to implement it. So, you know, they're a great idea, and I've always been a fan of them, but they do have their limitations.
Thanks, Ian. That's a very good point, and I think a good moment to close this session. Thank you very much to Susanna. That was a fascinating presentation, and thank you so much for all the work you've done on the second global study. So impressive to see the number of people that you've shepherded to bring this thing to life. So huge congratulations and many thanks to you. And thank you very much to Mary, Kath, Sylvia and Anna on the panel for giving us the insights into your region. And to all of you for participating so openly and so willingly. We will have some cocktails. I shall pass to Fabrice in a moment to give the details, but I just want to say again how delightful it is to see you all here and how much I'm looking forward to the next 2 or 3 days of dialogue and collaboration and working with you all.
So the cocktail will take place in 20 minutes from now at 6:30 in room 401 and 402. So we'll have some signs, but probably we will know how to get there. So thank you very much. See you there. Thank you very much.